I was staring at my closet this morning, having my usual daily crisis of I have absolutely nothing to wear, when a weird thought hit me. If we rewind about 100,000 years to the East African savannah, nobody was stressing over an H&M spring collection or their inbox. It was just you, a blazing brutal sun, an unbelievable swarm of blood-sucking flies, and you were completely, utterly naked. But then, somewhere along the line, one of our ancestors looked down at a freshly hunted antelope hide and thought, wait, what if I put that on? That was arguably our very first fashion moment. But today, we're not talking about style tips. I want to go back to that brutal ancient world to figure out when exactly humans first started to feel naked. Why did a hairless ape decide to wrap itself in fabric? The answer actually changes how you look at modern shame, and surprisingly, the anxiety you feel every time you look in the mirror. We like to think we wear clothes because we're civilized or modest, but honestly, look at a chimpanzee. They never forget their pants. The idea that we wear clothes because we're embarrassed to be naked is a surprisingly recent invention. Before humans invented the concept of shame, our ancestors spent hundreds of thousands of years running around the savannah completely naked, totally fine with it. So if it wasn't shame, it had to be warmth, right? Well, sort of. Because before we ever picked up a needle and thread, human evolution pulled off what looks like the worst trade deal in history. We got rid of our fur. Think about it. Nature spent millions of years giving our primate relatives the perfect natural coat, built-in insulation, scratch resistance. And we just dropped it. We made ourselves soft and completely exposed, only to later say, hey, I'm freezing, let's borrow that dead animal's fur. But evolution wasn't making a mistake. It was just optimizing for a very specific problem. When Africa's forests shrank into wide-open savannas, we had to get down from the trees and run long distances for dinner. And suddenly a thick fur coat was a massive liability. Sprinting after a gazelle under the midday sun makes your core temperature skyrocket. If fur traps that heat, your internal organs essentially cook like a potato in a microwave. So, humans made a high-stakes biological gamble. We ditched the fur and developed the most high-tech, dense sweat gland system on the planet. We became the ultimate heat dissipation machines. While other predators collapsed in the shade, naked humans could just casually jog for 20 kilometers, literally tracking their prey until the animal dropped dead from heat exhaustion. Absolute respect to our ancestors for that strat. But every biological upgrade has a hidden cost. Running naked in the afternoon sun was a superpower. But when the sun went down and the savannah dropped to freezing temperatures, you were just a giant, shivering, hairless ape in a cave. And when humans eventually migrated out of Africa into Ice Age Europe, naked survival was literally impossible. Clothing was never meant to be a symbol of elegance. It was a desperate workaround, a crude biological patch for an evolutionary trade-off. So when did we actually apply this patch? If you ask an archaeologist for the exact date we started wearing clothes, they'll probably just sigh. Organic materials like animal hides or woven grass dissolve back into the dirt within centuries. A prehistoric leather jacket isn't going to survive for us to dig up. But then, biologists stepped in and found the definitive proof using what are basically the world's smallest, grossest archaeologists, lice. Stick with me, because this is brilliant. Humans host two distinct types of lice. Head lice, which live in your hair, and body lice, which live exclusively in the folds of fabric. Body lice literally cannot survive without clothes. Their claws are genetically adapted to grip woven fibers, not hair. By sequencing their DNA, scientists used a molecular clock to calculate exactly when these two species split, and the timeline they found was incredibly specific. Clothing lice split from head lice roughly 170,000 years ago. Think about that. A parasite wouldn't evolve to depend entirely on clothing unless humans were already wearing clothes consistently, at scale. The lice did the detective work for us. 170,000 years ago, clothing officially became a permanent part of the human story. For the next 160,000 years, clothes were purely utility. Cold? Wear fur. Bugs? Cover up. No social status, no judgment. But fast forward to about 10,000 years ago, and we figured out farming. We stopped moving, settled down, and started accumulating property. And suddenly, humans had a brand new problem.
The earth
How do you instantly
provides.
prove to everyone that you're wealthy and powerful without carrying your entire pile of grain around with you? The answer was right there in the fabric. Clothing got hijacked. In ancient China, only the emperor could wear specific shades of yellow. In ancient Rome, your elite status was woven directly into the purple borders of your toga. Clothing evolved from a shield against nature into a visual badge of power. And to protect this new social order, society basically manufactured weaponized shame. Being improperly dressed or naked was suddenly labeled uncivilized or immoral. Your body didn't just belong to you anymore. It had to be wrapped up to code before you could participate in society. Which brings us right back to that modern masterpiece of daily stress, your closet. We have racks full of garments, yet we stand there every morning thinking, I have nothing to wear. We've turned a prehistoric survival tool into an engine for social anxiety. But here's what fascinated me the most. That styling anxiety you feel? It's deeply ancient. Deep in your evolutionary hardware, your brain remembers that being rejected by the group meant getting cast out. And back then, being cast out meant getting eaten by hyenas. Your primitive amygdala doesn't know the difference between a corporate office and the ancient savannah. So when you're stressing over an outfit, your brain isn't having a fashion crisis, it's experiencing
It is
a
a
primitive
trick of the
survival
mind.
threat. So the
A
next time
false
you look in the
warning.
mirror and feel like you don't fit in, remind yourself, it's just a 170,000-year-old defense mechanism misfiring. Underneath all those layers of cotton and polyester, you still carry the exact same body that outran predators on the plains of Africa. It's not flawed, it's a masterpiece of survival. What's the one piece of clothing in your closet that gives you the most primitive savannah anxiety? Let me know in the comments. If this changed how you look at your wardrobe, hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one.